Hello, and welcome to this special edition of Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. Today we've been challenged by the three blind mice again to build a custom car out of this Matchbox 1964 GTO. It's a pretty cool looking car and I really like the paint, but again, the challenge is to build something really cool out of it, so we're going to have to strip the paint down and do a wheel swap and maybe just give it that little bit of extra cool factor. I went ahead and drilled the car apart, so we're going to take it apart here and show you what's inside. The interior looks pretty cool. Obviously this is a brand new car, so we're not going to have to worry about evaluating the parts. But the interior is white, that looks pretty neat. The windshield's all brand new, so we don't have to worry about that. Now the doors on this car do open. That kind of presents a little bit of a challenge, so you got to be careful with that. That's a really nice looking car. Now the base here, we're definitely going to have to do a wheel swap. It's really a shame because the center of the wheels and everything look cool with that little spinner, but the tires are plastic, so they're crap. So we're going to have to get rid of them. Let's move on. Let's start with our wheel swap here. Going to take these old wheels out. Actually, they're kind of just falling out as it is. But finding something really cool to put in there, I think I got that covered. I got some wheels that I picked up from the Treads Diecast site on Facebook. Now this gentleman operates his business out of Malaysia, and if I'm informed properly, he gets his wheels directly from the Hot Wheels factory where they assemble these cars. So the tires, the wheels, and everything are pretty cool. So if you get a chance, go to his website there on Facebook at Treads Diecast and check it out. So we got the wheels out. We're going to have to widen the channel here a little bit to accept the little brass pipe that we're going to put in there to put the new wheels on. Just make sure you're doing it straight and you do it deep enough, or depending on how low you want the car. Obviously the higher the tires sit on the base, it's going to make your car sit lower, so you got to be careful. That channel looks pretty good. And then you do the same thing to the front. Now we got this little piece of brass pipe here. I got that from Amazon. You need just enough in order to put the axles in the pipes. I got those little brass pipes cut in there, and we super glued them in place. There you go. Pretty simple, huh? These are the wheels I'm going to use on this car. Pretty sharp. They look like the old Kriegers that you used to be able to get in your hot rods years and years ago. I had to file down this little axle support because the front end of the car didn't mate or lay down properly. It actually left a gap in the front there where the front end of the car is, so we had to file that down in order to get that to fit properly. Those are some nice looking wheels. Now we just got to repeat the process on the other side. Looking good. You got to be careful when you're gluing your wheels into the axle into the pipe, because if you put too much glue there and you let your wheel touch where the glue is, well, obviously it's going to glue up the wheel, and you don't want that to happen. Now we're going to strip the paint. Using this citrus strip that I got at Walmart, I'll pour it on and make sure that I get the inside and the outside of the car since we're doing a color change here. But I'll let it sit for half an hour to an hour. You can find some that work a lot faster, but this is just fine for what I do. Let's let it sit for a bit.
Meanwhile, back in the graveyard.
After letting it sit for about 30 minutes, look how nice that paint came off that car. Now I'm going to take a good stiff brush here, like this little paintbrush that I have, brush it all off, and then get it to the sink and scrub it down and make it nice and clean. Then we're going to polish it up. We're going to get out the Scotch-Brite pad and the steel wool. In my last video, I mentioned that I have green Scotch-Brite pads, gray ones, and I saw some black ones too. So Mr. William Carr, one of my subscribers, and also Adam Bowen pointed out that there are several more different kinds of grit when it comes to these Scotch-Brite pads. Here's a chart that I found online. You can feel free to look it up yourself, but there are many other different types of Scotch-Brite pads out there for you to use. So that's pretty cool information, guys, and thank you so much for passing that on so I can pass it on to everybody else. I used the Scotch-Brite pad and the 4/0 steel wool to polish this up enough, and now we're going to use the polishing cream here with the Dremel, and we're going to buff it up to a high shine. Now again, you've got to remember that when it comes to these cars, these Hot Wheels, these Matchbox, Greenlight, Jada, whatever you're painting, the surface on them is pretty rough, and they don't go crazy buffing these things unless it's a really high dollar car. I use this Blue Magic metal polish cream. There's all kinds of different brands out there. There's Mothers, there's Turtle Wax, all kinds of stuff. Using your Dremel, get it to a real nice shine in order for your Spectre Flame paint to show through really nice. Just take your time and do a good job. And again, just because your Dremel has a high speed setting doesn't mean that you need to have it on the high speed. You don't want to burn your polish. Looking good. While we're at it here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that little bell so you can be alerted to any future videos that do come out. Also set up your phone to where if you get an alert for a new video, you can get on there and watch it. Here I am taking my time polishing this thing. Now there are a little imperfections on the body and like that, but unless you get in there with the sandpaper and everything, you're not going to get it to a mirror finish. I found some decals that I wanted to use to make the car look that much better. I trimmed them down to fit. Make sure that you rub your surface down with water, get it wet before you apply your decals. Now I'll soak the decals in some water in a little tray or a little dish for about anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. And that should be just enough time in order for you to apply the decals and have them slide right off the paper. We're going to have a video here coming up soon about decals, where to buy them, how to make them yourself, and what to do. Now, these decals definitely helped out. In this particular car though, it's got opening doors, so you're going to have to address that before you try to open the doors. I recommend using a solution to help soften the decals, and then you can use a razor knife, or sometimes, like when I was using that solution, it melted right through the decal and allowed me to open the doors without any issues. Now we're going to put this one decal on the hood. Please notice that there's a gap between the decal and the nose of the car. Once I notice that, I'm going to mix up some Tester's paint, a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow, get it to match, and then I'm going to fill in that gap with the paint. But you only need to put a little light coat on there, just enough to cover the paint of the car. But take your time when you're mixing this to get the color just right. Using a little tiny brush and just take your time. And I know I keep saying it, and I'm sorry that I repeat myself a lot, but that's what's going to make your car look really good, is if you go slow, don't hurry it up. Once this all dries up, then we're going to clear coat it. Looking good. Once that paint dried, we set it up, and now we're going to clear coat it. For some reason I lost my original footage of me painting the car orange. You've seen me paint several cars if you've seen any of my other videos, so you can refer to those videos as far as putting the paint on. But you have to let that paint sit at least 24 hours unless you bake the paint on, which I don't do. I'm liable to try it here in the future, but right now I don't bake my coat on. I let it sit in a nice area where there's not going to be any dust or anything like that. That way you won't have your car all fuzzy.
Waiting for the paint to dry.
We've got the car all painted up. We've got it clear coated. I went ahead and I did some details on the body or the base itself. Painted the bumpers and everything chrome using a Molotow chrome pen. Did the tail lights, did the headlights, and the little blinker lights. Overall, this Matchbox casting is a nice car. The plastic base is a little cheesy, but nice paint finish and everything. But the challenge was to make it look really cool. I want to thank the Three Blind Mice for hosting this build off and everything, and all the other folks that are joining us here in the build. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I had a lot of fun doing this car. I can't wait till the next build. This is fantastic stuff here. And this is what we got to. This 1964 Pontiac GTO from Matchbox. But we really made it look cool. I used Spectre Flame orange paint from the Redline shop, and I also used the Spectre Flame or the Redline shop's clear coat to coat over the entire car. This turned out really good. I'm very pleased with it. I'm looking so forward to the next build by the Three Blind Mice, and we've got other Christmas builds going on. It's going to be a great holiday, folks. I've had a fantastic year, and I've got all you folks to thank for it. Thank you so much. What a lot of fun this was. Thanks for joining me here on Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul, and I'd like to wish you and your family happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever applies to you. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the beginning of the new year.